welcome to our first Q&A with Peter, our course manager, on all things course maintenance. Thank you to those of you who've sent some questions in. It's given us some good topics to try and cover. I'd just like to start with a little thank you to Peter and the rest of the lads for continuing the work out on the course. I'm sure that anyone who's managed to walk the course or walk down the embankment or drive past will notice how good it really does look. So let's hope that we're all back out there as soon as we can. Obviously, my update video that went out on Tuesday obviously highlights that we've got a little bit of a positive light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully. So let's see what comes out of the news this week, and let's hope we can all be back as soon as we can. So Peter, can you just pass on the thanks from me and from the members, just for obviously everything that we've done up to now, and we'll continue to do. So that's from all of us. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
So obviously, as I say, we had quite a good number of questions in, varied topics. We'll start with a little bit of a philosophical question we've had in from Stuart Cunningham. Stuart asks, once this is all over, what, if any, greenkeeping lessons have you learned from the period, and would there be anything that you will now do differently because of them?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Stuart. Yeah, there's a few things. The main thing we've changed is the cutting. Obviously, we're sticking to the guidelines set to us, but the way we cut has improved, in my opinion. So, for example, the rough. Whereas before we had two mowers going out cutting 1 inch and 3 inch, we've combined them down to 2 inch. So one mower cuts at 2 inch now. It looks better. The main thing we want when people come back to golf is people to speed their way around the course with keeping social distance and as much as they can, and looking for the balls obviously hinders that. So we've cut all the rough to 2 inch. We've cut wall to wall 2 inch. It won't stay like that forever, but at the moment it's what we're cutting. It's saving money in diesel because the machine we're using is the bigger of the two machines. It's saving money in mechanical breakdowns because it's a rotary mower compared to a cylinder mower, and we're saving money in diesel because it goes quicker. So it's got a lot of benefits. The other thing we're doing is we're cutting the tees. We're block cutting the tees. We hand cut them last year, and they looked okay hand cut, but the time it took was 3 men, 2 hours. Well, just now obviously there's no golfers and no tee markers, so we're cutting the tees at about 3 hours for one mower. And by block cutting, they're looking special, and they're looking a bit linksy.
No, that's great, and I think you've obviously had to adapt everything that you're doing, and on reduced numbers and on reduced sort of activities that we can do. So whether now's the time, can you sort of expand a little bit on what the RNA and what the guidelines have said that can be done out on the course and what can't be done?
Well, they set off, it was the RNA, BIGA, which is the Greenkeepers Association, GCMA, which is the Secretary Managers, and the PGA and England Golf and Scotland Golf all got together and put out essential guidelines. The essential tasks that the first lot that came out was cutting greens 3 times a week, cutting tees and approaches once a week, cutting fairways once a week, cutting rough every 2 weeks. That's expanded now after the first 3-week period, and we can cut more often and expand a little bit. If you need to top dress the same, if it's essential to get the grass healthy, you need to top dress, you need to give them light feeds of iron, wetting agent to keep the grass plant healthy. You can do those things. There's no major works going on. They don't see divoting as essential. We don't see tee banks as essential, and obviously don't see bunkers as essential at the moment. It's mostly cutting.
Okay. So just, if there was, obviously we've got positivity in here in that the course is looking great, the fairways look good, the tees are in great shape. If you had to give sort of one word of caution, what would it be to the members coming back? Would it be something around the greens, the pace?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The greens have been cut just now at 5 millimeters. That's a healthy height for cutting bent and fescue. They're going to be slow. We're going to gradually, as we know, golfers are going to be coming back. We'll gradually take that down. They're going to be slow, but they're going to be true. The annual meadowgrass has just started to stand up now and start working with other grasses in the greens. and they're thickening out quite nicely. But they will be slow to start with. But as the season progresses, they'll certainly be up to the standard we want them to be.
Good. So I think it's just that slight word of caution that we want to deliver, isn't it? That despite obviously no golf being played on the course for the last 5 or 6 weeks, and the fact that you've got less staff in, that it looks great, but the greens we are gonna speed them up as time goes by. But to start with, they'll be a little bit on the slow side, won't they? So
I think I made a mistake in that last use in the links by saying don't expect Augusta, and it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect, but in my opinion, certainly since I've been here, it's the best it's ever been at this time of year. It's looking good. The greens will be slow, but the greens will catch up as we take the height down slightly. Yeah, I think everybody, when they come back, will be happy.
Great. No, that's brilliant. So hopefully that answers that question for you, Stuart, and it sort of shows that the lads have learned a good bit about themselves, the course, and maintenance while we've all been away. So brilliant. Second question we've got in, and it's from Alan Moore, and it's a question surrounding the irrigation and the sort of water tank. So I'll read it word for word. So, in anticipation of another dry summer, last year Peter said the storage tank for the irrigation system, located under the second green, couldn't cope with the demands from the irrigation system in particularly dry conditions, and consideration was being given to sinking a well. Has any progress been made?
Okay, cool. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, the tank second greens you play it's 250,000 litres in capacity. It's the filling up of the tank, which is a bigger issue. The tank itself is now 20 years old. They don't have a lifespan. It could be anything between 50 and 30 years, but nobody knows. As we've got one underground, we don't really know how good it is. To fill up the tank, that's what we need to do quicker, because at the moment it takes about 10 to 12 hours to completely fill the tank. So obviously we run out of water. Looking at every other golf course in the neighbourhood, if you look at Royal Birkdale, Hillside, Formby Ladies and SNA, they all have a horizontal well system. Formby Ladies got theirs at the back end of last year finished. It's a company called Popes of Hightown that do it. They're the only company in Britain that do it. And basically you're drilling down to the aquifers below the ground, about 5 metres into the ground, where the water's running freely. It's good water, and you collect that water and you pump it to the tanks. All the other courses can pump upwards of 600,000 litres a day. So that's how they can keep their course irrigated. Formula Ladies, who've just put theirs in, can do 65,000 litres an hour. We spoke to Popes of Hightown. We've got the designs of where we think it should go, and then COVID happened, so we're on the back foot at the moment, but we've got the plans, the designs. You need 300 metres of relatively flat land to sink this pipe, and that the water goes in and you pump that to your tank. People in questioning it, I said, well, why don't we put it on the 9th, because it'll improve the drainage. It's that far down, it's nothing to do with drainage at all. One of the places I've looked at is alongside the 14th. It can't go too close to pine trees, but it would have to go down the right-hand side of the fairway, going towards the tee, and then we'd have a pumping chamber just off the track off Fleetwood Road that would pump to either a new tank or our current tank. And it would be able to get enough water to keep filling, so the amount of water we get into the tank is a lot more than what we're pumping out. So we could irrigate everything all the time. So we are looking at it. We have got prices for it. Hopefully when the lockdown finishes, we can do more discussions, take it to members what we've got, and then make decisions after that. But I think it's a future project which we will do. Yeah,
it's one we just need to sort of keep an eye on, isn't it, and keep assessing. Would you say it's a priority in greens at the minute, or something that is one of the top things that we need to be looking at?
Yeah, definitely. We're spending a lot of money on wetting agents and things like that to conserve the water in the ground to the amount of water that we do put out. Obviously, we don't have the 17th as much this year as we did in 2018 to water. So that's a big help. We are watering an awful lot at the moment. It was nice to have the rain last week. We're putting on about 300,000 litres a day. We can do that because we can water at different times of the day, because usually we've got golfers playing all through the day, so we can't really put the irrigation system on. Whereas when we've not got golfers, as long as it's not too hot, we can be watering any hour of the day, so you can allow the tank to fill up and then program it that way. We can also micromanage. So rather than, say, for example, the 14th fairway, we want about 3 mil of precipitation on the 14th fairway, but we don't really need to do that, because if you look at by the bunkers and the fountain, you've probably got the driest part of the fairway. That needs 3 millimetres. But as you head towards the Widows, it's quite low lying, it's quite wet. That'll only need 1. So we micromanage each station on the irrigation system, so it's not blanket 3 mil. It could be 1 mil in one area, it could be no mil in one area, or it could be 6 mil in one area. And we can manage that with the system we've got at the moment.
Great. Oh, that's really good. So hopefully, Alan, that covers that off for you. Thank you. So question number 3 we've had in, and that it factors in with number 4 as well. Really, it's 2 questions that we can put together. The first one's from Dave Greensit, who's just asking or sort of saying, the 9th seems to be the poorest for drainage and is frequently very damp underfoot. Can anything realistically be done to improve this area? And then there's also a question from Dave Thornton asking, is there anything more that can be done to reduce the problem wet areas on the course during the winter months, or should we accept that this is due to the lay of the land?
Why don't we go out and have a look?
Perfect, let's go.
So we're out in the 8th fairway now. This is one of the wettest parts of the course, this hole and in front of the 9th tee there. So we've got a ditch that runs down parallel with this part of the fairway. The proposal is to move the ditch, to have an open ditch running right across the fairway. In front of the tee it'll be culverted, but it'll join up to the other ditch, and then all our water systems in the golf course are all joined to the pumping system then. The ditch running up the right hand side will be lowered, so everything comes in here. As I say, we'll culvert in front of the tee so you're not hitting over a ditch, but the ditch will come out. Then we can run the wettest part in front of the tee up to the fairway. We can run some field drains in there straight into the open ditch, and we've improved the drainage of this very wet area.
Move on to question number 5. This is one in from Dave Harrison, and it covers off a little bit surrounding while the course is closed more than sort of when we get back open. So Dave says, it would seem from some of the divots on holes on the seaside of the course that we may be having some early evening trespassers. Perhaps we could have a volunteer marshalling scheme linked into daily exercising between 6 o'clock and sunset for artisans and members to patrol holes 3 to 13. Peter, I'd sort of ask you first before I maybe sort of give my view. What's your view or thoughts on that?
Well, I think we're in a fortunate position that I live here. I live on the course, a phone call away. I patrol the course quite often. I have thrown 2 people off for playing golf, thankfully not members. One was quite early morning and one was a Saturday evening. They know they're in the wrong, they leave. The majority of people that are on the course at the moment are treating it with respect. They realise they're lucky to be on here. We're getting very, very little damage, if any. We're getting our bins filled up with dog muck, which isn't the pleasantest, but it's better than leaving it on the course. And most people are respectful of the course. Worst thing I've had is throwing a family off 7th green playing football. But I honestly don't think it's necessary. We've got a good membership. We've got the artisans as well. Perhaps the way they approach people sometimes leaves a little bit to be desired. So the wrong work to the wrong person could have one of our greens dug up overnight. And I think the way I do it is quite friendly but forceful. So I'm nice about it, but they get the message that they shouldn't come back. And I think it's working, to be honest. There are a few divots I'm sure I'm not catching everybody, but we're definitely catching most of them.
So I think for me, just sort of a message out to the members is obviously we're happy to see you out walking on the course. We're happy for you to keep enjoying the fresh air. Keep an eye out for us. Obviously, if there's anything that you spot, give Peter a ring. Peter's number is available on the club website, or he'll be able to share that with you on one of the next slides on here. So we've got that there. Just let's fingers crossed we've not got too long to go where we're not playing golf. So we've been lucky up to now with no damage, and I think we feel like we've done the right thing in sort of letting people go. We obviously know that once golf starts, we're going to get some signs up and things to remind the walkers and the dog walkers that the course is back in action and it's not a safe place for them to be. But for now, we're sticking with what we've been doing. So
the other thing we've got is we've got the local community officers. They have their lunch breaks not in the halfway house, outside the halfway house. So at least twice a day, there's a police car parked outside the halfway house, which is a good deterrent for people as well. And they speak to the people that are coming past, and they're friendly. So we've got a kind of police cover as well at the moment, which is nice.
Great, no, brilliant. So Dave, hopefully that covers that off for you. Okay, question number 6. So we've had one in from our finance director, Jeff Cummins, and it's one surrounding about paths. So I'll read it out for you, Peter. It's noticeable how the little red stones get spread across the whole of the course, possibly made worse by soft spikes, which seem to pick small stones up easier. How much damage do those small stones do to tees, fairways, greens, and cutting equipment? Secondly, how much would it cost, and what would be a reasonable amount of time to replace with a mix of synthetic and natural paths? And then obviously thirdly, how high would you put that on a to-do list if funding wasn't an issue?
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Firstly, the red stones can be a pain. The larger ones in particular, in years gone by, it used to be 20 mil to dust. So you can imagine a 20 mil stone's quite big. Now we're down to 3 mil to dust with what we buy. So that doesn't damage the mowers. Whenever we cut the greens and tees, especially, we always check the tee or green for studs, bolts, you name it, what could be on the green. We switch the green, check, make sure it's debris clear. That takes a little bit of time, but we're ensuring that the mowers are looked after. I think we'd all love the rubber crumb pathways. Myself and Martin spoke to a couple of companies back in the autumn that are working around Britain at the moment. To do the paths and the nice stuff we've got, like on the 5th and the 2nd path, you're talking £35 a square metre, best price with us doing the groundwork, and £50 a square metre with them doing the groundwork. So it's a lot of money when you consider the paths we've got. I'm delighted to say that one of the main things we've done to improve the course over the lockdown period is to create grass paths. There's now 22 new grass paths around the course. They are, especially on the marsh side of the road, they're in areas which they don't need irrigation on some. Obviously, we've done the 4th and 17th got new paths. I won't go through them all, but the grass paths we've done have been good. We'll be looking at irrigating them in-house this autumn. We've worked out how to do it ourselves with little cost to the club to move some sprinklers around so we can get coverage on the paths. The first would be a lovely path to have either grass or the porous rubber crumb, but we're talking thousands of pounds. Us as a green team, myself, Simon, Graham and Andrew speak a lot about priorities, and paths, to be honest, isn't as high as top dressing sand or the irrigation system and things like that. If it was a bottomless pit, then obviously we'd get them all done. As much grass as we can, then on heavy areas, the rubber crumb, but it's not. So at the moment, we're replacing as many as we can, as many as finances allow, and we're looking at every possible way to improve the paths. But it's a long, drawn-out process.
Hopefully that covers that one off for you, Jeff. So question number 7 we've had in from John Murray. So thanks, John. Peter, it's surrounding raised tees. John's question is based around improving the look of the fourth, for example, to raise the tees there. We've obviously already got it done on holes such as the first, the second, and the 9th. What's your opinion, and what do you think of raised tees? Is it something that we should be looking at? Get over to you.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange one. When you look at traditional links courses, particularly a course like St Andrews, they're all low and flat right next to the green, and I can understand that. When you look at your Cruden Bays and your West Lancs and things like that, they're in the middle of dunes. So where we can stick tees high that fit in with the surrounding area is nice. We have raised the 3rd, we've raised the 9th, and they have both improved the holes. From a finance side of things, it wouldn't cost a lot of much. It's base material you'd need to raise it. What's below the top meter doesn't matter, because the growing medium is in the top meter. So the fourth is one we could raise it. It would certainly make the hole slightly easier. It would improve the aesthetics of the hole. But there's other tees, in my opinion, that need to go on the priority list first. Like we were looking before the lockdown this winter, we were looking at doing the 10th yellow tee. I believe there's an old tree in there somewhere, so it's the most uneven tee in the course. So we're looking at doing that and maybe incorporating that into the 10th white tee as well. So we've got a proper tee, because the 10th tee is a bit small. The white tee, it's a bit small. So we have got a tee plan, which we'll share the members when we get out of this, and everybody's on agreement of it. Red tees as well. We've got a number of red tees we want to do. One of the tees that I'd like to raise, and there'd be a lot of material, but we talk about making a little tee at the back of 15. But if we raised the whole white tee, we'd have to look at the health and safety for the houses. But if we raised the whole white tee as well, and you had a better view down the hole, I think that would be the priority raised tee, because I think that would make the 15th even more of a signature hole.
I think I just sort of want to clarify with the members that anything that we do on those sorts of levels are something that's going to form part of a long-term plan, isn't it? It's something that we want as the course to progress over time. It's not something that will just ad hoc be done on a last minute, decided in September, done in October basis. Because there's a lot that needs to go into these things as well, isn't there? I think the logistics of how you get out onto the course to do the changes and those sorts of things are ones that we need to consider as well, aren't we?
Yeah. We put a list together of tree work, of planting work, of pathways, of tees, of any groundworks. We put that together. It's about the next 6 years at the moment. Council are still to approve it, to have a look at it, and then that'll be published to the members on the website for everybody to look at and discuss, and then we will go and say, I'm hoping, it's a difficult year this year, but I would hope in usual years by just after Easter we would be telling the members what we were planning to do that winter, what the winter programme was for that, and what we proposed to do that winter, and then everybody's understanding what's going to be done, and they can look forward to it. And obviously there's another one with drainage, which we put into that as well.
Yeah, so great. Hopefully John, that answers that off for you, or gives you enough information to know that things are considered, but obviously they're just part of the long-term plan as well. So thank you, John. The next question we've had in is from Phil Evans. So thanks, Phil. Peter, it's surrounding the speed of play out on Saturdays and the second green in particular. So the question is, the second green surrounding areas can easily lose a ball, certainly at big growth times. Why can't it be made more accommodating to find the ball? It's hard enough hitting the green so early in the round.
Phil, I think you'll be delighted to see what we've done there. We can go out on the course now and have a look, if you like.
Made it to the second green now, as you can see, the short area on the front of the green, and then golfer friendly rough all the way around the outside. Hopefully that's answered your question.